All right. Well, I have to say today was wild. We had some really crazy price action. And you know what? I started the day in the red. First trade of the day was a loser, same as on Thursday and Friday. So I'm going to have to be really careful tomorrow. I need to break this streak of starting the day with losers. Today was a little sloppy, if I'm going to be honest. Let's jump into the charts and start talking about it. GTBP, this was our leading percentage gainer. Stock went up 150%. And you know what? I'm red on it. I don't know how, but I'm red. We're going to figure it out by breaking down the chart and looking at my entries. But this is a stock that was already up. Well, let's see. So it closed on Friday around $3. When I sat down when I looked at my scans at about 6:30 this morning, it was already the leading percentage gainer. And I thought, all right, this is interesting. The price is good. You know, it's between 2 and 20. I like that. The float is nice and low. Like this looks pretty decent. And when I looked at the daily chart, I realized that it did have a little resistance at the 200 moving average here, but I wasn't super concerned about that because that was up at $8. And when I was first looking at it, it was around like 5. So I come over here, I sit down around 7 a.m. and I pull up GTBP. And at 7 a.m., you can see that it had already squeezed up around 6:50 a.m. and then pulled back. So coming into 7 a.m., it was sort of dipping down. So I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to trade this right now. I'm gonna leave it alone. But I was watching the scans, and the first stock that hit my scans was TANH. TANH hits my scanners. It's a lower price stock, and I'm thinking when it hits my scanners, all right, you know what? Low price stocks, FFIE, these have been popular. I'm going to watch it. So it breaks over $1, as you can see right here. And my first entry is at $1.08 with a stop at $1. And it ends up peaking at, let's see, it hit a high of $1.14, but I held. I held the whole thing. It drops down and I sell it at $1.07. All right, I'm in at $1.08. I sell at $1.07. I'm down $50. So 5,000 share position, not a big deal. All right, no big deal. So then it pops back up here. It stops me out as it comes back to $1 right here. And then it comes back up and I decide to get back in. And I got back in as it broke over $1.14. So now I add 5,000 shares at $1.14. And what does it do? Rejection, comes back down. I stopped out of that at $1.05 for a 9-cent loss. So now I'm down $450 to start the day. All right, not great, but not the end of the world. Now, I had a little bit of a distraction today because I had some friends who were here and they were asking me a bunch of questions about trading and wanting to kind of learn more about how I was, how I trade and what I'm looking at. And they're working on a project that, this was relevant for. So I was like, all right, they're filming a documentary. So I was like, all right, I'll help you guys out on this. So I definitely had some distractions this morning with that. So anyways, first trade of the day, first 2 trades, losers. All right. And then at about 7:18, I switch back to GTBP. So GTBP starts popping up and I'm like, all right, you know what? The problem is, as I pulled up the chart, I realized it's easy to borrow. When I realized it was easy to borrow, I knew that this was going to be probably an issue and it was going to be choppy. And in fact, that was the case. By the way, my internet has been kind of not working super well today. I keep sort of lagging out and then coming back on. This is an internet issue. I'm sorry, guys. So GTBP, easy to borrow at light speed. Usually that's not a great indicator. But in any case, I decided to take the risk anyways. And I took my first trade right here as it starts to squeeze up. So I get in it at 6.89 for the break of 7. And I take some profit at 7.05. Nice little trade. Nothing super exciting, but got myself in the green. I get back in at 7.02. And it dips down here, and I stopped out at 6.96. It then comes back up, and I add back at 6.14, and it squeezes, as you could see for a second. It goes all the way up to 7.50. And I decided to sell at 7. I thought that this was going to make a really big move. I didn't take profit and I sell as it comes back down. So now I'm down 1100 on the day. I'm down, 700 or so on GTBP and I'm down 400 on TANH. And at this point, I'm getting a little annoyed because I'm starting to dig the hole a little bit deeper. This starts to squeeze higher. And as it starts to pull away, I kind of looked at this and I thought, I'm not sure if this is going to work, because as I was looking at it, I was looking at the 5-minute chart and I sort of said to myself, we've already had first pullback, second pullback. This is the third pullback. Should I really get in here? The 200 moving average is about 825. But as it squeezed up here and got over the 200, I decided to add took a new position at 845, looking for the breakthrough 850. I thought we were going parabolic up to 9. Does that work? Nope. Stopped out. Flushes down. And so now I'm digging the hole a little bit deeper. And I stopped out at about 825. Now I'm down 2,000 on the day. Next trade, TIRX. This one hits the scanner. Jumped in it at $4. It's squeezed up here to a high of 420. I'm in at 4. I stop out for a loss at about 380. TIRX, I lost $1,200. Now I'm down 3,200. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm kind of like, what's going on? I'm just loser after loser after loser. Now, none of these losses are big, but when you add 5 of them together, I'm moving in the wrong direction. Now I'm down $3,000. And then MTC hits the scans. MTC hits the scans. And on this one, I just did the same thing I did on all the others. I jumped in on the first little micro pullback. And son of a gun, this thing went from 10 all the way up to $16 a share right here. Made $3,700. And with that, I was back to flat on the day. Or maybe I was up like 200. So I got a little bit of profit here on MTC as it squeezed up. But it didn't hold up. In fact, here's something really interesting. MTC pops up there and then sold off all the way to $1.30. Chinese connection here. So another, Chinese flush. This is not what you like to see at all. So high of $16 today, low of $1.30. And but anyways, I traded it pre-market before it pulled back. So got myself back to green, and then I took a trade on CTNT here, and look at this. So it pops up on this candle right here. And when it popped up, all of a sudden there was a big 20,000 share buyer. And that's what gave me the conviction to add. I was like, oh my gosh, here, look at, there's a big buyer. So I add to the position and I get a small little trade up here, but it doesn't end up holding up very well. Anyways, it dips back down. So that was my kind of trade at the, that was one of my last trades there at about 8:48 a.m. And I am now sitting, down like $38 on the day. And I'm just like, you know what? All right, guys, I think I'm going to call it. So I stepped back. I walked away. I got some other stuff done. And look at CTNT. This one at 10 a.m., it sells off from 10 all the way down to $3. But hold up. Look at this thing. This thing rallied all the way back up after hours to $45 a share. And you know what? I had some work I was doing this afternoon, but when I came back, I was sitting at my computer and I looked at this and I said, you know what? I'm going to take a trade. I took my first trade right there for the break of 20, squeezed up to 22.50. And I just feel silly that I didn't buy more shares. I took a 250 share starter position. So you know what? I ended up finishing the day up $1,378. Red on GTBP, green on MTC, and green on CTNT. No home runs today, but I guess the good news is that my average winners were pretty big today. And so even though I really was only green on 2 stocks out of the 6 I traded, because my average winners were bigger than my average losers, Despite low accuracy, I was green. But man, that low accuracy is kind of frustrating. And I got to sort of figure out what the issue is here. I gotta spend some time thinking about that because, just again, these losses are small. It's not that big of a deal. I took the $1,200 loss on TIRX and I had like 3 losses on GTBP. So cumulatively it's 2,500. But it just felt like I kept taking stabs and I just kept being wrong on my entry. And even CTNT, I mean, this wasn't that great either. The better trade was later in the day, surprisingly, very unusual. Today's going to be unusual for my metrics because it's not typical that my biggest winner would be, later in the day. But in any case, so, this is the month of May. As you may recall, a couple red days after, first full week, couple red days there, Thursday, Friday, and I was red today. I thought it was going to be a third red day in a row, but ended up managing to turn around into the close. Never hit max loss today. Didn't break any of those rules, but, just wasn't able to really get in the zone. And if we look at my trades on Thursday, I mean, I was never green. We look at my trades on Friday, and on Friday, once again, it's just like in the red. So I definitely need to slow down tomorrow because today was the same. First trade, red, 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 red. So I need to slow down a little bit. I think a contributing factor is the fact that if we look at the volume today in the market, where do we have the most volume? FFIE, MMV, cheaper stocks that really don't fit within my strategy. So the stocks I was trading, GTBP, 64 million shares. It just happened to be choppy. TANH, 64 million. I mean, we've got a lot of volume, but I just couldn't get in the zone. Now, MMAT, this one also made a nice move after hours. I had to run. I had to get some stuff done. I just came back to do the recap. So, I didn't trade any of this. This was a nice move as well, though. I don't know. Naked short selling? Yeah. But, GameStop. I remember when GameStop first started moving, if we go back to 2021, when it first started moving, I was red on it. And let's see, was this GameStop that I was trading? BNGO, maybe not. But these first few days when GameStop was starting to like pull away, I was red. I went down over $100,000 on the month of January before suddenly turning around and making over 900 grand on this week here. This is the week that GameStop made its biggest move. So, I don't know. And then following the GameStop move in February, I had a couple of big red days, 94,000, 268,000. I mean, these numbers are so big. It's hard for me to even get my head around the market that we had then. There was an incredible amount of liquidity in that market. You could take such big share size. Today, if you try to take that kind of share size, you're going to lose so much on slippage. It's not even funny. I don't know if it's the market makers or what it is, but anyways, following that big move on GameStop, I had a big red week, worst red week I've ever had in my career, 300 grand in the red. And right now we're kind of in a similar post GameStop, environment. So maybe that's part of it. And I guess all things considered, I've kept a pretty darn tight leash on these trades. And I've definitely sized down a lot. My account's a lot smaller than it used to be. I've scaled things back. But even if I hadn't, there is just not the liquidity to trade as big as I was able to at that time. The market we just don't have the same amount of volume in the market. So anyways, I'm fine with that. I'm happy with how I'm trading, but minus being red these first few days. I just have to be a little bit careful tomorrow as I sit down and really think, is this stock I'm looking at obvious? And keep in mind, volume. Where's the volume tomorrow? So anyways, that's my recap. Hope you guys found it helpful. I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. If you want to tune in for a 2-week trial, there'll be a link posted in the top of the comments and linked in the description. Love to have you guys join us. It's $20 for 2 weeks. You can watch over my shoulder. You can use the scanners. You can get a sense of what it's like to watch me trade. And so I hope to see you guys there. And reminder, as always, that trading is risky. My results aren't typical. So manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you guys back here first thing tomorrow morning.